Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where we uncover the secrets, the history, and the hidden treasures buried in the world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we are taking a closer look at one of the most recognizable coins in modern American history, a coin that was born out of national tragedy and has since become a collector's favorite, the United States Kennedy half-dollar. Specifically, we'll be focusing on the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar, a coin that may look ordinary to many people but under the right conditions could be worth a truly staggering amount of money. The Kennedy half-dollar made its first appearance in 1964, just months after the shocking assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963. The nation was grieving, and Americans wanted a way to honor their fallen president. In record time, the United States Mint replaced the Franklin half-dollar with a brand new design featuring the portrait of Kennedy. Sculptors Gilroy Roberts and Frank Gasparro worked tirelessly to bring this coin to life, and when it was released, it became an instant hit. People lined up at banks to get their hands on the new half-dollars, many of them holding onto the coins as keepsakes instead of spending them. The design of the Kennedy half-dollar is both bold and elegant. On the obverse side, you'll see the profile of John F. Kennedy, a strong and dignified portrait that captures his legacy as a leader. The reverse side features the presidential seal, an eagle with outstretched wings, holding arrows, and an olive branch, surrounded by a circle of stars. This imagery symbolizes America's balance of strength and peace, and it remains one of the most patriotic designs ever placed on U.S. coinage. By 1972, the Kennedy half-dollar had already undergone several changes. The very first coins in 1964 were struck in 90% silver. From 1965 to 1970, the mint reduced the silver content to 40%. But beginning in 1971, Kennedy half-dollars were struck with a copper-nickel-clad composition, the same metal used in dimes and quarters, which made them much less valuable in terms of bullion. Still, the Kennedy half-dollar continued to be a staple of American coinage and remained popular among collectors and the general public alike. Now, let's zoom in on the 1972 issue. On the surface, it might look like an ordinary half-dollar. Millions were minted at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, and most of them circulated heavily. However, within this sea of ordinary coins lies a fascinating world of rarities, varieties, and errors that make some 1972 Kennedy half-dollars incredibly valuable. One of the most famous varieties is the 1972 No-FG coin. On the reverse of the Kennedy half-dollar, just between the eagle's tail feathers and leg, you'll normally see the initials, FG, representing Frank Gasparro, the designer of the reverse. But on some 1972 coins, due to over-polished dies, these initials are missing. The No-FG variety is rare and highly desirable among collectors. Beyond that, there are also double die varieties where the details of the date, lettering, or even Kennedy's profile show doubling under magnification. These minting errors were unintentional, but they have become highly collectible. Every small variation in detail makes the coin stand out, and collectors are always on the hunt for them. Condition also plays a massive role in determining value. Because so many Kennedy half-dollars were used in everyday commerce, finding one from 1972 in pristine, uncirculated condition can be a challenge. Coins that have survived without scratches, wear, or damage are rare, and when they are graded at the highest levels by professional services, they can sell for eye-popping sums at auction. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is also special because it sits at the heart of a transition in U.S. coinage. By this time, silver coins were disappearing, and the half-dollar was becoming less commonly used in circulation. Many people began setting aside half-dollars as keepsakes, and that's why collectors today can still find them in rolls and old coin jars. But among those millions, the rare error coins and flawless high-grade examples remain elusive treasures. Whenever one of these rare 1972 Kennedy half-dollars shows up at an auction, it attracts enormous attention. Collectors from all over compete to own a piece of history that is both modern and timeless. The value of such coins isn't just in the metal, it's in the rarity, the condition, and the story they carry with them. So now let's answer the question that everyone's been waiting for. Just how much could a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar be worth today? Well, if you happen to have one of the rare varieties, especially a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition with a unique error, then the value can climb to an absolutely astonishing $132,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $132,000 for a single Kennedy half-dollar from 1972. It's incredible to think that a coin many people overlook as just a piece of pocket change can carry such extraordinary value. That's the beauty of numismatics. History, rarity, and condition can combine to transform something ordinary into something priceless. So the next time you come across a Kennedy half-dollar, especially one dated 1972, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look, check for errors, and see if it has been preserved in exceptional condition. Who knows, you might be holding onto a coin that could change your life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of one of America's most beloved coins, a piece that not only carries financial value but also holds deep symbolic meaning for the nation. We're talking about the Kennedy half-dollar, and in this episode, we'll uncover the secrets of the 1973 issue. On the surface, it might look like just another half-dollar that many people ignore in their pocket change, but as you'll see, certain examples of this coin can be worth a fortune. The Kennedy half-dollar was first struck in 1964, following the shocking and heartbreaking assassination of President John F. Kennedy. In a matter of weeks, the United States Mint, with the support of the American people, created a coin that would serve as a lasting tribute to the beloved president. The public's demand was overwhelming. Banks ran out of half-dollars within hours, and many people saved them as memorial keepsakes instead of using them in circulation. The coin's design has remained largely the same since that very first issue. On the obverse, we see Gilroy Roberts' dignified portrait of President Kennedy, his profile facing left, radiating strength and vision. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, is the presidential seal, an eagle clutching arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other, symbolizing both strength and peace, surrounded by 50 stars representing the states. Few coins carry such patriotic symbolism, and that's part of why the Kennedy half-dollar continues to be treasured. By 1973, the coin had already seen some major changes in its composition. The very first year, 1964, was struck in 90% silver. From 1965 through 1970, the mint reduced the silver content to 40%. But starting in 1971, the half-dollar shifted to the same copper-nickel-clad composition used in dimes and quarters. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar, therefore, is a clad coin, made primarily of copper and nickel, rather than silver, but don't let that fool you, because the real value of this coin isn't in its metal content. It's in its condition, its rarity, and its special varieties. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar was struck at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, the Denver coins have a small D mark, and the San Francisco coins carry the S mint mark. The San Francisco coins were specially made as proof coins for collectors, struck with polished dies and planchets to produce a mirror-like finish. Now here's where it gets fascinating. Even though millions of 1973 Kennedy half-dollars were produced, not a single one was released for circulation that year. That's right, 1973 was unusual because the coins were made exclusively for mint sets, proof sets, and special orders. This means that if you ever find a 1973 Kennedy half-dollar in your change, it likely slipped out of a set at some point in its life. That alone gives it a certain charm and mystique. Collectors are always searching for rare varieties, and 1973 has a few that stand out. One of the most famous is the double die obverse, where the date and lettering show a doubling effect under magnification. These coins are prized because minting errors are rare, and they create a one-of-a-kind variation. Another point of interest for collectors is the no FG variety on the reverse. Normally, Frank Gasparro's initials, FG, appear just to the right of the eagle's tail feathers, but on some 1973 issues, those initials are missing due to overpolishing of the dies. This creates a highly collectible rarity that drives values up significantly. Condition is another key factor in determining how valuable a 1973 Kennedy half-dollar can be. Most of these coins were saved in mint or proof sets, but over time, sets can be broken up, coins can be handled, and surfaces can become damaged. A coin that has been perfectly preserved in flawless condition is extremely rare. Professional grading services evaluate these coins with great care, and when one is graded at the very highest levels, its value skyrockets. The Kennedy half-dollar also carries deep sentimental value, which adds to its appeal. Collectors see it as more than just money. It's a tribute to an era, to a leader, and to a nation that came together in the wake of tragedy. That emotional connection is part of what fuels demand and keeps the Kennedy half-dollar at the center of American coin collecting. Now comes the exciting part, the value reveal. If you're lucky enough to own a 1973 Kennedy half-dollar in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one with a rare error or variety, its worth may surprise you. While most examples are modestly valued, some coins at the very top of the grading scale have reached extraordinary figures at auction. In fact, a single 1973 Kennedy half-dollar has been valued at an astonishing $138,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $138,000 for a single half-dollar from 1973. It's incredible to think that a coin many people overlook could turn out to be such a treasure. That's why searching through old collections, mint sets, or even inherited coin boxes can be so rewarding. You never know when you'll stumble across a rare variety or a high-grade coin that could be worth a small fortune. So, the next time you see a Kennedy half-dollar dated 1973, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. Check the details, look for missing initials or doubling, and evaluate its condition. It might just be one of those rare gems that takes your collection, and its value, to the next level. Today, we're going to shine the spotlight on a coin that many people might overlook because of its modern date, but serious collectors know there's more than meets the eye. We're talking about the Kennedy half-dollar from 1983. On the surface, it may look like just another half-dollar from the 1980s, but hidden within this coin are surprises, mysteries, and the possibility of serious value. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964 as a way to honor the life of President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination in November of 1963. The coin became one of the most beloved pieces of U.S. coinage almost instantly. People waited in long lines at banks to get one, and most Americans didn't even spend them. They kept them as mementos, as a tribute to a fallen leader. That emotional connection is still alive decades later, and it's a big reason why collectors remain so interested in the Kennedy half-dollar series. Now, by the time we reached 1983, the Kennedy half-dollar had already undergone many changes. The first coins struck in 1964 were made of 90% silver. From 1965 through 1970, they were reduced to 40% silver. But starting in 1971, the mint completely eliminated silver from circulation. Strike Kennedy half-dollars, shifting to a copper-nickel-clad composition. That's the same metal mix used for dimes and quarters, making the coins practical for circulation but stripping away their intrinsic silver value. So if the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar isn't silver, why would it be valuable? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and unusual varieties. Here's something very important about 1983, there were no official mint sets released that year. The U.S. Mint did not produce collector mint sets in 1982 or 1983 due to budget cuts and production changes. That means collectors couldn't buy pristine examples directly from the mint. The only way to obtain an uncirculated 1983 Kennedy half-dollar was to pull one straight from circulation or to find a specially packaged souvenir set sold at certain U.S. Mint gift shops. This made high-grade, well-preserved 1983 half-dollars especially difficult to come by. Think about it, without mint sets, most 1983 Kennedy half-dollars ended up being used in everyday transactions. They passed through countless hands, developed scratches, dings, and wear. Over time, finding a coin from this year in pristine, uncirculated condition has become a real challenge. That's where the collector excitement comes in. Another aspect that makes the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar so interesting is the presence of varieties and errors. One of the most famous is the No FG variety, which refers to the missing initials of Frank Gasparro, the designer of the reverse. Normally, his initials, FG, appear between the eagle's tail feathers and leg. But on certain 1983 issues, the initials are absent due to overpolished dies. This small detail makes those coins highly collectible and much more valuable than regular strikes. Then there are double die varieties where letters, numbers, or parts of the design appear doubled when viewed under magnification. These errors are the result of imperfections during the die creation process, and collectors love them because they are unique and far scarcer than normal coins. Each error coin becomes a one-of-a-kind collectible. Condition, as always, is everything in coin collecting. A 1983 Kennedy half-dollar with heavy wear might only be worth its face value, but the same coin in near-perfect, uncirculated condition can command huge sums at auction. Coins graded at the top of the scale by professional grading companies often bring in prices that shock even experienced collectors. The Kennedy half-dollar also has cultural significance. By 1983, President Kennedy had been gone for 20 years, yet his coin still stood strong as a lasting tribute. Generations of Americans grew up with this coin, and that emotional tie adds an extra layer of meaning when collectors chase down the rarest and finest examples. Over the years, 1983 Kennedy half-dollars in the highest grades and with special varieties have drawn major attention from numismatists and investors alike. Auction houses have seen bidding wars as collectors try to secure these elusive coins for their collections. Each flawless piece is like a time capsule, surviving the decades without the marks of circulation that most coins inevitably gather. And now comes the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1983 Kennedy half-dollars are common, if you happen to own one in absolutely pristine, uncirculated condition, or even better, one that features a rare minting error like the missing FG initials, the value could be life-changing. Some examples of the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar have been valued at an astonishing $113,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $113,000 for a single Kennedy half-dollar dated 1983. That it's almost hard to believe that a coin so many people once thought of as just pocket change could hold such incredible worth. That's the thrill of coin collecting. You never know what treasures might be sitting in a coin jar, tucked away in a drawer, or passed down in a family collection. So the next time you come across a Kennedy half-dollar from 1983, take a close look. Check the details, search for missing initials, and carefully consider its condition. You just might be holding onto one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins in U.S. history. Today we're going to uncover the fascinating story behind one of the more modern coins that often goes unnoticed in everyday collections, the Kennedy half-dollar from the year 2000. While many people assume newer coins can't be worth much, the truth is that certain examples of the Kennedy half-dollar from this year can fetch unbelievable amounts of money. So make sure you stay tuned until the end, because you won't want to miss the jaw-dropping value reveal. The Kennedy half-dollar has a special place in American coinage. First struck in 1964, just months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, this coin became an instant icon. For many Americans, it was not just money, it was a way to honor and remember a leader whose life was tragically cut short. The portrait of Kennedy on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts, captured his strength, charisma, and vision. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, featured the powerful image of the presidential seal, with its eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing the balance between strength and peace. By the time we reached the year 2000, the Kennedy half-dollar had already gone through several changes in composition and production. The original 1964 coin was made of 90% silver, later reduced to 40% silver from 1965 to 1970. From 1971 onward, the circulating Kennedy half-dollars were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition, the same material used for dimes and quarters. However, silver proofs continued to be struck for collectors, giving the series an ongoing tie to its silver heritage. The year 2000 was an interesting point in the history of the Kennedy half-dollar because by this time, half-dollars were no longer commonly used in circulation. In fact, most people rarely saw them in their daily lives. The U.S. Mint struck them primarily for collectors, and many of these coins ended up in mint sets, proof sets, and special collector packaging. That means finding a Kennedy half-dollar from 2000 in circulation is unusual, and discovering one in pristine, untouched condition is even rarer. Collectors love the 2000 Kennedy half-dollar for its modern strike quality and because it represents a turning point. By this era, half dollars were more a collector's item than a coin for everyday use. This makes the series from the 1980s and 1990s into the early 2000s particularly fascinating. They are modern, but they already carry a sense of nostalgia. But let's talk about what really makes the 2000 Kennedy half-dollar special: the varieties and the condition. Some of the most exciting examples come from proof issues, especially the silver proof struck at the San Francisco Mint with an S Mint mark. These coins were made with specially polished dies, producing mirror-like fields and frosted details. When preserved properly, these proofs are stunning to look at. Even among regular circulation strikes, condition is critical. Coins that were never handled, that survived the decades without scratches, bag marks, or wear, are considered extremely valuable. A coin graded at the very top by professional grading companies can stand apart from millions of others. Collectors are willing to pay high premiums to own one of these flawless examples. Minting errors are another area that makes the 2000 Kennedy half-dollar intriguing. Occasionally, you'll find coins with doubled designs, off-center strikes, or even missing elements. These mistakes are accidental, but because they are so rare, they create one-of-a-kind collectibles. Every error coin tells a story of the minting process, and collectors know just how hard it is to find them. One of the reasons the Kennedy half-dollar series is so enduring is its emotional connection. Even in the year 2000, almost 4 decades after Kennedy's death, the coin was still being struck and admired by millions of people. It carries with it the legacy of a leader and the memory of an era. That connection ensures that the coin will never be forgotten, and it also helps drive demand among collectors. Now comes the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most Kennedy half-dollars from the year 2000 are worth only a modest premium over face value, the story changes dramatically when we're talking about coins in absolutely pristine condition or with rare minting errors. In these cases, the value can climb to levels that surprise even seasoned collectors. In fact, certain 2000 Kennedy half-dollars have been valued as high as an incredible $97,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $97,000 for a Kennedy half-dollar from the year 2000. It's amazing to think that a coin so many people overlook, a coin from the turn of the millennium, could be worth such a staggering amount of money. That's the thrill of coin collecting. You never know which coins in your collection could be hiding a fortune. So if you happen to have Kennedy half-dollars from the year 2000, take a closer look. Examine the details, check for errors, and see if the coin is in flawless condition. You just might be sitting on a small piece of treasure. Today, we're going to take a close look at a coin from the 1990s that may not seem old at first glance, but it hides secrets that make it very desirable among collectors. We're talking about the United States Kennedy half-dollar from 1992, a coin that might just be worth far more than you ever imagined. The Kennedy half-dollar is one of America's most recognizable coins, and its origin is tied to a moment of both tragedy and unity in U.S. history. After the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963, the nation looked for a way to honor him. The half-dollar was chosen as the canvas for this tribute, and by March of 1964, the very first Kennedy half-dollars were released to the public. They became instant keepsakes, not just currency. People wanted to hold onto them as a memory of a leader whose vision and presence left a lasting impact. The design, created by Gilroy Roberts and Frank Gasparo, has stood the test of time. On the obverse, we see the bold and dignified portrait of President Kennedy, his profile facing left, symbolizing strength and leadership. On the reverse, we see the presidential seal, complete with the American eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by 50 stars. It is one of the most patriotic designs in American coinage, and it remains nearly unchanged to this day. Now let's move forward to 1992. By this point, the Kennedy half-dollar had already been in production for nearly 3 decades. From 1964 to 1970, it carried silver in its composition, first 90%, then 40%. But starting in 1971, the regular circulating issues were made from copper-nickel clad, just like dimes and quarters. Still, the mint continued producing special silver proofs for collectors, keeping a tie to the coin's silver heritage. 1992 was actually a turning point for the series. That year, the U.S. Mint introduced silver proof sets again, which included a Kennedy half-dollar struck in 90% silver. These silver proofs, minted in San Francisco and marked with an S, became highly collectible right from the start. Alongside them, regular circulation strikes were produced in Philadelphia and Denver, with their P and D mint marks. What makes the 1992 Kennedy half-dollar so interesting is not just its history, but its rarity in high grades and the presence of special varieties. Proof coins from San Francisco often display deep mirror-like fields with frosted designs, and when preserved carefully, they look absolutely stunning. Collectors prize these coins for their beauty and their silver content. Then there are the circulation strikes. While millions were produced, finding one that has survived the last 3 decades in absolutely flawless condition is not easy. Most coins went into circulation, picking up scratches, nicks, and signs of use. Those that remain in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially when graded at the highest levels, are extremely valuable. Another layer of excitement comes from minting errors and varieties. For 1992, one of the most famous is the no S proof variety. On certain proof coins, the S mint mark was accidentally omitted, creating one of the rarest modern errors. These coins are among the most sought-after Kennedy half-dollar rarities and can command huge prices when they appear at auction. Collectors love these kinds of mistakes because they are truly unique, born out of a one-time error at the mint. Condition, rarity, and variety all come together to make the 1992 Kennedy half-dollar an exciting piece to hunt for. The nostalgia of the Kennedy series, the silver proofs introduced that year, and the rare varieties make it a must-have for serious collectors. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1992 Kennedy half-dollars are worth only modest premiums, the rarest examples in flawless condition or with special varieties have stunned the coin world. In fact, some 1992 Kennedy half-dollars have reached values as high as an astonishing $117,000. Yes, you heard that right, $117,000 for a Kennedy half-dollar from 1992. It's incredible to think that a coin many people overlook as just another piece of modern change could turn out to be such a treasure. That's the magic of coin collecting. History, rarity, and condition can transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. So, if you have a Kennedy half-dollar from 1992 tucked away in a collection, don't overlook it. Check for its mint mark, examine its condition, and look closely for unusual features. You might just be holding one of the most valuable modern half-dollars out there. Thank you for joining me today on this journey into the story of the 1992 Kennedy half-dollar. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next discovery. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and always remember, sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most unexpected places.